Okay, that looks much better, don't it? Okay, we got some feeler gauges here. Now I've already measured this out a little bit, but I'm going to see here. You see that one doesn't quite fit. That one drops right in. Okay, and that one's 15. I don't know if you can see that or not. That one's 15, and the no-go is 17. So we got 15. So I don't think anywhere in here it's gives me a ring end gap. Okay, and so I guess basically anything over 30, just throw it away. But you can see the old ring, we pulled it out, and again, this is the second ring. The old ring had a giant gap in it. This ring doesn't. We're gonna just do a really light hone to take off this polish and bring that cylinder back. You know, obviously we don't want to oversize the cylinder, but the cylinder is well within the 3000 spec. So and that ring looks good. So the new rings are no reject. The old rings are obviously rejects. So we're going to put new rings in it and then start to put the motor back together. But first we're going to hone it. Okay, so the next thing to do is hone it. So that'll come up next. Okay, I was wrong. It does have the end gap. It's in the beginning of the book. Let's see here. The specifications on. There we go. Ring end gap 5 to 13, and I'm 15. And this is, you know, the used piston, used bore. So you know, I don't have 790 or 769 actually. Is on the tight side, and of course if I was doing it new, I'd want the number at the bottom of the spec, which is 769, or sorry, 969. Here's up here, so 969. But we measured it 2970, and the reject dimension was 2973. And again, you already saw that. We checked that. We were looking at 2973, and what we got is about 2971 and a half. So we're there. We got another 1.5 thou before it's reject. I mean, it's close. It's getting there. And golly, I hope I don't when I run the hone in here. I hope, well, I won't. This is a cast iron cylinder. All I'm going to do is hone it just enough to bring up the scratch. You know, but yeah, I only got 1.5 thou to work with before I'm at reject dimension. But yeah, ring end gap 13, and it needs to be you know, it's at 15, it's not at 30, so we'll be able to get away with a fresh set of rings after we hone it. And again, I keep on babbling about the honing, but I haven't done the honing yet. And again, I'm probably just going to use some ATF and just give it a quick hone. Probably with a ball hone, actually. No, I won't. I won't use the ball hone. I'll use the stone hone. I have a regular stone hone that'll just enough to bring the surface back to what you see at the bottom. That's all I'm going to do. Is just enough to break the glaze and give it some bite to seat in those rings. And the combination of the rings with honed cylinders will knock that out, and then it'll be there. But I did find the end gaps. And again, not ideal, but this isn't a brand new motor. If I was worried about it, I'd be worried about having the dimension of 2969 and, you know, anywhere from 5 to 13. but seeing as it's actually 2971 and a half thereabouts, it's not 2973. I can't, and definitely not a 2973. So, I'm still within spec. Again, not ideal. I've probably eaten about half of the spec out of the bore, but it did the good thing and gave up a set of rings to ate a set of rings for me, and I can swap in another set of rings and get, I don't know, another 800 hours out of it, maybe more if I baby it. These are cast iron line blocks, so it should, as long as I keep oil in it and keep dirt out of it, it should last me a good long time. So that's what we're going to do. Again, next step still bore and hone, but I wanted to double check because I was pretty sure that they, like, why wouldn't you have an end gap? But they do have an end gap, and the bore dimensions and stuff like that. But we're good to go now. And next is the hone. Okay, and I do mean a quick hone. And hopefully we're catching a crosshatch there, but you get to see a general idea. Well, I don't know. Maybe. There we go. Trying to do about 45 degrees, which means a pretty good clip. You really got to get on it. It's quick. Really quick. And you can see the difference in the bottom slightly, but it's actually looking pretty good. A little bit of ridge there, but overall looking pretty good. Got quite a crosshatch in there. And again, I don't want to take out a lot, just a little. And we'll remeasure after we clean this all, because of course, a little ATF and you get that weird slime down in there. And again, I just got it bolted to a bench upstairs here in the garage, closer to the parts cleaner. We'll do the other side and then measure it all again, get the dimensions. Again, I don't expect it to be over 1.5 thou, but we'll blast the other side down, and again, just enough to clear up the shine, and that little apprentice mark, it's not really an apprentice mark, that's the ridge. I'm going to leave that alone. I don't need to take all of that out of there. So you see the crosshatch there, and again, you really got to cook in and out. And again, I haven't completely cleaned this. This is just a quick wipe with a paper towel, and I've got to get in there and thoroughly clean that. So this whole thing's going back in the parts washer to get all of that mud, if you will, this grinding mud, kind of in the crosshatch. So it's really got to be cleaned thoroughly. But there's no chatter. Sometimes you'll see like weird wear patterns, and you need to see a smooth and it's pretty good. You see a little wear spot down there at the bottom where the transition between the original crosshatch and this one, but again, I'm happy with that. I'll do the other one and back into the parts washer and get it all clean. Okay, and there's that one, and I pretty much got it the same way. I didn't quite clean up as much down at the bottom, but again, not going crazy, just enough to get a good crosshatch in her. That's what I'm looking for. So not so bad. Break the glaze, if you will. So just enough to get it cleaned up. And now we've got to get this all in the tank. WD is a nice thing. You spray some WD-40 in there with the parts cleaner, and that'll help loosen that up. And you really got to scrub these bores, get all that grit out of there, because there's going to be grit. So good washy wash. And like I said, I'll stone the cylinder head tops now while I'm at it, seeing as I gotta wash it. So I'm gonna quick stone, well, not stone, flat steel block wrapped in 600 grit paper, just really light. Take off any burrs on the top of the cylinder head and the case, and again, I just got to clamp to the bench. But that'll do. No need to take the governor out, so the governor's still in it. A really quick stone the back of it, stone the tops of the cylinders, back into the parts cleaner one more time for a good washy wash, and then we can start putting it back together. Okay, so we got it all spiffy. Boys have the crosshatch ready to go. So time to drop the crank in. Crank goes in first, and then we put the flywheel on just so that doesn't fall out. Put the crank in, give it some oil, make sure that that's nice. Then put the crankshaft or the balancer on the outside, then roll it back over onto this face resting on the flywheel, and put the pistons in. So here we go. There we go. Got that right there. A little bit of oil. That's nice. Nice. And there's just some 30 weight. Okay. I'll run this motor on 30 weight for the break-in period. I'll mow, and then I'll change the oil and do a seasonal service on it. But here we go. I've got the key and the flywheel on there, and then get started on putting the pistons back in. Okay. Of course, I want to make sure that that key is in there too. And I'm going to push that key back just a little bit more. I want it fully engaged in the key slot. There we go. Now that key is a little loose, but that's all right. It hasn't come out yet. I want it fully engaged in there. And this is a taper fit, so this thing is seated on the nose of the crank. Again, I was careful not to jostle it around because it isn't, you know, super sloppy. But we'll get it tightened, the nut and bolt on here, and tighten it up, and then move on to step next. Again, I won't torque this to 150 because it's such a sloppy rig here, but I will snug it up and then torque it on the tractor, and I'll torque it on the tractor before I put the covers on. So yeah, it won't leave here fully assembled. Whoopsie, breather box. Got to put the breather box on first. Oh well. Okay, flywheel's back off, but, and it's important that we see it without the flywheel. These are behind the flywheel. These hold on this pan. This pan holds on the dipstick and the starter. So we got to put the starter on, and the wiring harness, by the way. So the wiring harness goes under the pan. So before we can put the flywheel on, and of course the breather assembly. So before we can put the flywheel on, we have to put this pan on, which also means we got to put the dipstick in, we got to put the starter on, we got to put the wiring harness on. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, and so you get the starter and the wiring harness. The wiring harness goes behind the starter and actually behind the dipstick, and this goes kind of under the dipstick. Okay, and then this finally goes on top. So you can see why you got to have all of this stuff there before you put the pan on. Okay, so the dipstick's there and it's held in place by that screw and that lock. Okay, and then the starter is kind of held in there. You can't get the starter in or out without that. And again, we still got to put that in before we put the flywheel in. But that's that. And the wiring just hangs loosely down below. All right, and that's what we need.